Yeah. You can only do this if your 1 foot that you're standing on is right in the center line of your body below your spine, but the feet don't travel up and connect into the center line of the body. The bottom of the leg is the bottom of the foot, and the top of the leg is the top of this femur, this upper leg bone from the knee up to the hip. When it comes up, it comes in a little bit to the center line of the body. So this leg bone, the upper leg bone, is called the femur. It comes up, and there's a ball at the top of it called the femoral head, and this ball meets into this socket of the hip. So we've got a ball, the femoral head, at the top of one of our legs, meeting into one side of our hip socket. It's kind of like putting your fist into the palm of your other hand. Okay, a ball and socket joint so we can have motion in the leg. That's on one side of our bodies from the center line, and on the other side of our bodies from the center line, we've got the same thing happening. The top of the leg bone, this upper leg bone from the knee up to the hip, this is the femur. There's a ball at the top of it, the femoral head meeting into the socket of the hip, called the acetabulum, okay? Just like the palm of the hand and a fist, and you can move the fist within the palm of the hand. That's the hip joint. Dante, you wait. Good. The top of the leg bone, that femoral head, it's like a ball meeting into the socket of the hip, okay? So this is happening on either side of our bodies from the center line. Now, what happens is when these leg bones come up, they don't just come straight up from where the feet are and lock into the hips. The top of the leg bone, the upper part of the femur, this femoral head, comes up and in a little bit to the center line of the body. And now we have this open hip joint, okay? So what I'm saying is we don't stand with our feet exactly shoulder width apart like people say. I can't actually even get my shoulders fully straight out and get full open shoulder capsules or shoulder joints if my feet are shoulder width apart, because the top of the femur comes up and then in toward the center of the body, and while it does this, there's a rotation happening in the leg bone that fully straightens our bodies. So we've got the hips, or the pelvis structure, having a neutral, which is the same as the bottom of the feet. It's just the surface of the planet Earth. The hips can tuck underneath us from their neutral, which is posterior, or they can rotate away from us in the way we already bend at a hip hinge, which is anterior, okay? But this is from the neutral, horizontal surface of the Earth position, okay? I understand the wind noise if and where in this video, but you'll be able to get it. It's a documentation in the Image Clothing Company's main site, the 1st of April 2026, all right? We only have 2 feet, is the video's title. Because this is the thing. We don't stand shoulder width apart. We've got 5 different length toes. Again, watch the wood slats on the pallet. If we stand shoulder width apart, okay, the width of our shoulders traveling down, well, where the top of our leg bones actually come up and insert to the hips is closer than that. And we need to get fully extended to stand as vertical as we could with Earth's vertical gravity pull, and that's a posterior tuck of the pelvis, straightening our hips all the way by tucking them underneath us from the neutral. Okay? This happens by a little bit of external rotation or rotating outward of these upper leg bones. And so this can't happen if your feet are too far apart. if my feet are at shoulder width apart and I try to fully extend my hips, I can't get full rotation in these upper leg bones, the femurs, to fully straighten my body vertically by tucking my pelvis posterior and having external rotation come in my upper leg bones, where they come up and meet into the hips at shoulder width apart. It can't happen, not really, because the top of the legs needs to be the same width as the bottom of the legs. And so the feet actually need to be basically right next to each other in order for the width of the top of the head of the femur coming up and in to the hip capsule, the femoral head meeting into the acetabulum of the hip. This is going to be the same width as the ankles when our feet are right next to each other, okay? The top of the leg is this femoral head meeting into the hip. The bottom of the leg is the heel of the foot or the ankle joint, and from there we have the lever of the foot off the front of that. But this is the thing, is we have different length 5 toes, okay? So, yeah. In the Image Clothing Company's main side, the 1st of April 2026, the video's title, we only have 2 feet. This is the thing. If you want to stand up straight, you have to have your feet right next to each other, because now the top of the femur is just about the same width as the ankles. When I say just about, that's where it would be the same width. And so now when we stand up off our different length 5 toes, up onto the tip of our toes, the width of our hips at the top of these femurs, the upper leg bone, where it comes up and then in a little bit to the center line of the body with that ball or the femoral head, the width of that is going to stay the same width as the ankle joint or the heel of the foot when we stand up evenly off the end of our 5 different length toes. Look at the ankle of my leg traveling from my heels of my feet at my ankle joint all the way up to where my hips actually are. Remember, the femoral head is in toward the center line of the body more than the leg bone of the femur at the main part of the leg of the upper leg bone. It comes up and in. And so with our feet right next to each other, standing up onto the balls of our feet, just rolling evenly with even pressure off the ends of our different length 5 toes, the whole leg stays in line with the feet right next to each other. Because our different length toes come up and into the center line of the body like this, like an arrow, the big toes in the middle are the longest, and the pinky toes on the outside are the shortest. That position that we roll in and up on, just even weight on the ends of our different length 5 toes, just keeps this nice natural curvature through the whole leg, because as we come up off the ends of our different length 5 toes, we roll out a little bit with the ankle, but that's traveling up this outward curvature as the leg comes up and then in to the hips with the femoral head. Up and in toward the center line of the body is what I mean by in. And now you've just got the same width, okay? From the top of the leg bones down to the heels of the feet, and we can just stand up onto the ends of our different length 5 toes and back down. Well, really to the ball of our feet, but you know, with the weight up on the ball of our feet, most of the weight on our toes. Okay? Now if you stand with your feet at shoulder width apart, this is too wide. Because the shoulders is different than the feet. Well, the hands are different than the feet to a degree. The shoulders are definitely different than the hips. The shoulder is just 3 bones joining to become the shoulder. It's just the ends of bones coming together. At the hip, we've got a ball and a socket joint in the hip, okay? It's a completely different function than the shoulder, the way that it works. A ball and socket joint in the hip versus just 3 joining bones at the shoulder. We don't want an even distance from our shoulder width down to our feet when we're standing, okay? This video's titled, the 1st of April, 2026, in the Image Clothing Company's main side, we only have 2 feet. If you're too wide, you're not going to be staying over your center of gravity on only 1 foot. You would need your 1 foot to be right under your center of gravity, and like I'm showing, the top of the femur comes up and in toward the center line of the body a little bit, and that's just not going to be able to be underneath us if we're at shoulder width with our feet, okay, distance apart. So if we stand at shoulder width distance apart at our feet, like is so commonly recommended to do, now if you just stand up and roll evenly off the ends of your different 5-length toes, you're going to change all the angles of your entire leg. Notice earlier when I showed standing with your feet right next to each other, you've got even distances from the top of the leg bone at the head of the femur down to the ankles. And when we stand up, nothing in the legs change, nothing in my hips change, nothing in my back changes, up through the rest of my whole body, out to the tip of my head and the tips of my fingers. With my feet right next to each other, I can just stand up evenly off the ends of all my 5 different length toes, and nothing in my entire body will change. Okay, nothing in the entire body has to compensate. When my feet are right next to each other and I go up off the ends of my 5 different length toes the universal human design has, okay? Standing at shoulder width apart though with the feet, you're gonna damage your body. Because as you go off your 5 different length toes, your ankle comes up and out just because of the shape and length of the bones of the toes, okay? And now, the top of your upper leg bones, as they come up and in at that femoral head, the top of the head of the femur, now those bones are narrower than your feet. So when you stand up off the ends of your different 5-length toes, your knees point out. As shoulder width apart with the feet versus the feet right next to each other, the top of the bones of the upper leg bones, well, yes, the top of the femurs, the femoral head, as it comes up and in to the center line of the body a little bit at the top, they're right over the ankle joint, and our knees stay tracking directly in line. The angle of the legs don't change, the angle of the hips doesn't change, my curve in my spine won't change here with my feet right next to each other, but you step that shoulder width apart and everything changes. There's pressure on my ankles that shouldn't be there, there's torsion on my knees that shouldn't be there. Well, not torsion necessarily, but just a bad position for the knee joint. It's not directly in line. The knees are poking out and my feet are pointing straight forward, okay, at shoulder width apart. Going off the ends of our 5 different length toes, just standing up evenly, the knees point out when the feet are pointing forward, when you're at shoulder width apart. Standing just right below your center of gravity with your feet right next to each other, now the feet point forward and the knees point forward. Okay? So the point is, we only have 2 feet. And really the point with that is Earth's vertical gravity pull. So everything we do in our lives, we need to keep our feet right underneath us. And you don't want to be at shoulder width apart you change your body. Your pelvis goes anterior with the rotation, your spine excessively curves because your knees are pointing out, and it'll collapse the arches in your feet. The arches in the feet grip inward. And then we go evenly off the ends of our different length 5 toes. Okay. Anyway, there's only one way the human body could ever work. So what I'm saying is, everything we do in our lives, because we only have 2 feet, this video's title, through the wind noise and the car noise, it's here, the information's been documented, okay? The 1st of April 2026, in the Image Clothing Company's main side, we only have 2 feet. And so, the arches grip inward, and we just roll evenly off the ends of our 5 different length toes, and this has to happen underneath our vertical pull of gravity within our body's center line. Otherwise, if not, and we're just too far apart with the feet at shoulder width apart, which is so commonly recommended to stand, well, first of all, you can't recommend someone to stand any certain way. The bones of the body are only the shape and length that they are, and we just have Earth's vertical gravity pull with a center line to our body. There's no recommended distance to stand at the distance of the feet apart. Oh my goodness, you don't know. And you know, we don't know what we don't know. We can't be held accountable for what we don't know. But the human body is just a mechanical machine. The feet are just these vertical supports for our bodies. They just have to be underneath us. And if they're too far outside of our body's center of gravity's pull, they just can't support us because they're just not underneath us. It's just about gravity and the length of the toes and the shape of the bones. All right, anyway, it's very noisy. I get it. It's fine. It's been documented. This is great. This is the point, right? This is the point of doing this, is just documenting it. So anyway, what I'm saying is,